Perfect. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Can you see my screen also?
Not yet, but I'm sure it's coming.
Can you see it now?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, it's good now.
Excellent. So yeah, thank you for the invitation. That's a real pleasure to be here. So I have 25 minutes to convince you to download and try shinyMobile. But before going into shinyMobile, I will give background about myself also, the work I'm also doing for our interface in open source. So as Xavier mentioned, I'm currently principal scientist and consultant at Novartis. Before that, I was in academia. I did my PhD in France, and then I continued in Zurich. And I was working a lot in Shiny, starting from the end of my PhD. I mainly do package development at Novartis. So I develop dashboards, I develop R6 frameworks. I develop also Shiny apps for clinical projects, for exploring safety, efficacy, and analysis of clinical trials. And we provide internal consulting to train Novartis associates to develop production-ready Shiny apps. It's pretty complex, actually. All right, so before going into the features of shinyMobile, I just want to show you what are the motivation behind the package. So here you should see a Shiny dashboard. So it's taken from the Shiny dashboard website, and here it's basically the cron download. So this dashboard works really well. It displays pretty well when I reduce my screen, as I do now. But you see that we are quite far from what you see when you are using Twitter, for instance, when you are using a specific application like it.ch in Switzerland. So here is Twitter, for instance, and you see we are really far from that if you are using just the basic Shiny packages. Because here you have, you feel it's really made for mobile use. You have your tabs, which you can navigate at the top. So there is already the mini UI package, which is dedicated to develop Shiny gadgets. The point is that mini UI is becoming quite old, and you don't have a lot of customization regarding widgets, meaning that it needed some improvement. So I don't remember exactly, probably 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I discovered a template. So it's called Framework 7. And Framework 7 is an HTML, JavaScript, and CSS framework to allow you to develop mobile-ready apps. Here it's just a demonstration, an example, and you can see that it's way more adapted for mobile than the previous Shiny dashboard I showed you. And my idea was, okay, I did that for BS4Dash for providing Bootstrap for Shiny dashboard. I will try to bring this template to Shiny. So it started from that. 1 year ago, I almost abandoned the project because it was pretty complex. The thing is that here, with Shiny relies on jQuery, on Bootstrap. So it was Bootstrap 3, and now it's moving to Bootstrap 4. But the point is that this Framework 7 doesn't use any of jQuery nor Bootstrap. So that was pretty challenging at the beginning, but now it works fine. All right. So now I will go to shinyMobile to explain you the main features. So what you have in shinyMobile, it's way more than just the Bootstrap 4Dash package, for instance, because Bootstrap 4Dash is just a template providing a dashboard template. You don't have any input, you don't have any widgets. With shinyMobile, you have widgets, you have layouts, you have a lot of different things like notification, logging features and stuff like this. So in practice, we have approximately 14 new inputs. I'm sure now it's not 14, but maybe 20 inputs, like sliders, steppers, with the update server-side functions that you can really interactively create interaction in your app. We have free skins, iOS, material design, and Aurora, even though it's automatic, actually. If you put it to automatic, it will detect if you are on Android, if you are on iOS, and apply the specific theme. Two global themes, light and dark, and the dark mode is really nice today, especially if you care about your eyes. There are 16 colors. You have containers like cards, chips, badges, as well as several side functions for these containers, because they are highly interactive, like cards. So I will show you in a few minutes. A notification system with popovers, tooltips, models, which you already have in Shiny, and that's a critical thing. You know, while developing this template, that was mandatory to have at least the same feature as in basic Shiny, but provide a different layout and look and feel for mobile. So you have a very experimental login feature, which was added last week or 2 weeks ago. And probably the best thing is it's progressive web app compatible. So it means in practice that you can run your application full screen. You don't have to run it through going to Google Chrome or using Safari. So the first time you load the application, you will have to navigate to Chrome or Safari to go to the URL of your app. But then you can put it and save it to your home screen as if you were downloading an application from App Store or Google Store. And after that, you have a launch screen each time you start your application, and it's full screen. You don't have any navigation bar. You don't lose vertical space, which is critical for mobiles. All right, so here you should see an example of iOS layout. So it's an iOS Lite demonstration. You could also access this from shinyapps.io. It's called miniUI2 demo. And here, the application here is contained it's an iframe with a phone container. So here we can change the text. It's really reacting to what I'm doing. Except that you see here, you should see a slider. In practice, you see it well when you are using your mobile. Here, it's just because the iframe is not really perfect for that, but it's better than nothing. So here, if I change the stepper, you see that it's updating. So it's the equivalent of the numeric input in Shiny. You have the checkbox. We have the checkbox group. You also have the radio. So the radio here, you see, I can select fruits. The toggle here. So you'll find also some components from the Shiny widget package. If you're familiar with Shiny widget, it brings toggles, which is like a checkbox, but with a different design. You have select input. You have the smart select. So as it names, the smart select is a bit smarter than the select, but you can filter your columns and directly select them from this. You have the type ahead input, which is an autocomplete input. So if I write apple here, it also suggests me apricot, pineapple, and a lot of different things. So we have the date input. So it can, for now, there is no range support, but it will be done very soon. We have the picker input, the color picker input, which is, there are a lot of features in this picker input. I really like it. But you can also, here, these are a lot of different components in this input, and you can, of course, enable or disable what you want. All right, so this is everything for inputs. Now, actually not everything, because I moved to something which is extremely important in shinyMobile, is the refreshed action button inputs. In Shiny, you have the action button, you have the submit button. So here we can gather action buttons in containers. So it's called a fab here. And inside you gather action buttons, you can label them. And you see if I click on the button, then I can, it exactly reacts like an action button, but it's more optimized for mobile because it saves space, what you want. You can display them in RAW. You can apply different styles for your containers. So here it's really up to you then to explore different options. So here I move to containers. So we have cards. So cards is really a mandatory component. And you see that there is a simple card, but you can put a footer, you can have a header, you can put icons with labels. We have cards with media inside. You can put images in the header. We have social cards, like as if you are going to Facebook, to Twitter. There are these kind of social cards. So the difference is that you can put a date in the title. We have list cards. So here it can be, for instance, if you develop an application with music, you can put your music here. It can be books, also can be whatever you want. And here is extremely interesting. It's expandable cards. So the expandable cards can expand, right? But you can also close the card either by clicking on that button or also by sweeping to the bottom. Here the sweep doesn't work because it's an iframe, so it's kind of bricolage in French. But it's, as I told you, it's better than nothing. There is a server function for updating the state of this card. And if I click here, I will programmatically expand the card. Again, it's interesting to have it in case you want to add more interactivity in your application. So here you have lists. Lists are extremely important in shinyMobile. So with those lists, you can also sweep them to the right and sweep them to the left. Like if you have your mail application on your mobile, like on iOS, you can sweep to the left. You can also sweep to the right. And trigger, if I've clicked here, I will trigger an alert. I can also trigger a notification, but I could also trigger an action which will trigger a notification and so on. So it's extremely interactive. You have a lot of possibilities there. And yeah, it's highly customizable, so I will let you explore in detail the list component. There are text containers. So text containers are a bit like cards, except that you can put your text inside. So here is to send feedback to your user. So it's really about pop-up, about notifications, popovers, tooltips, toast, whatever. So if I click on toggle pop-up, then it will show a pop-up, and of course you can display inputs inside, and it's reactive. Right. So here is a model which appears from the bottom of your application. I can also display inputs inside. In practice, it's better to have parameters of your application. So this model can be swept to the bottom, but you can also make it appear from the top instead, if you prefer. Here is the action, an action button, a specific action button trigger from the server, in which you can gather a lot of different actions. So here, if I click on this button, I will trigger notification. If I click on the dialog, I will trigger a dialog, and whether I click on cancel, then there is an input associated. So if it's canceled, the input is false. If I click on OK, the input will be true. So let's click on OK, and you see there is a toast at the bottom of the application, which is appearing. So it's extremely interactive, as I told you. There are popovers also. This can be useful when you want to show some help for your application, and also tooltips. So here it's triggered on hover. It can be also triggered on click. And I put other components in this part. So you even have messages. So probably have seen recently, I don't remember exactly, I published it maybe last week, the shinyChat. shinyChat was basically an experimentation with these messages. You have pages here, chips. So these chips are kind of enhanced pages which you can close. The accordion, and the accordion also has input binding, so then you can programmatically open or close them. You have a sweeper. So the sweeper is nice because you can display a lot of different plots, a lot of different outputs inside. You have a photo browser containing pictures, for instance. We even have timelines. You have a progress bars, and those progress also have several functions. So you see that the progress bar here is updating as soon as I change the slider. And gauges, and same thing for gauges, which can contain a lot of metrics. You can update them from the server side. So here I'm changing the value of the left gauge, and you see that it's updating at the same time. So now I will move to another theme, which is iOS dark. So here I displayed it in a container, which is an iPad. And you see here that the dark layout is pretty nice. Actually, I prefer than the light one. And you see that there are exactly the same inputs. So I forgot to mention that you can put panels in your application. You can have a left panel and also a right panel. So it's optional, but it can be useful if you want to include some informations. So here I just give you a very quick overview because I already mentioned it in the previous slide. Yeah, you can sweep also with your finger. Here I sweep with a mouse, which is not really convenient, but it's really better on your mobile. So here are cards also. You have other components like the sheet here, the pop-up, some dialogues. So you see the toast is exactly the same color. It's black even on light mode. And here, also something I forget to mention is the skeleton components, something you can make blinking before the data are loaded in your app. So if you open this Slack application, for instance, before showing messages, you can see this stuff appearing. So this is the same principle, and you can apply it to text elements, to cards, to everything you want. So it's like a cosmetic effect. It's not really mandatory. And here is the material design. So just to show you that we also support the Google material design scheme. So as I told you, you can force the material design, or you can also put it to automatic, and depending on your platform, it will shift to iOS or material. I really like the material design. So see here, sliders are slightly different. There are ranges here, slider ranges. You can put icons next to the slider. The stepper is exactly the same. Checkboxes are slightly different. The radio is also different. The toggle looks exactly the same as in shinyWidget. So what you don't see here, you don't see, normally you should see something coming from the bottom of your app, but as I'm running this from an iframe, it's not detecting the mobile stuff, so it's not coming from the bottom, but try it from your mobile, and I promise you it really works well. So here, same thing for buttons. These are exactly the same. Notifications are quite different. So here I show you. So here this one is the same, but for dialogue, it's for the same as material design. Popovers also, toasts are quite different. And then it's the same thing here, except that, yeah, so the progress bar is slightly different. So how can you install the package? Now, the new version is, so it's already in cron. There is a version coming up, 0.6, I think, or 0.5, which is already, actually I said I will release it since December, but I decided it was not mature enough. So now it's almost time to release. So it's better to install it from GitHub. It's more stable and there are more features. You can have a look at the README, the news, to have more details about differences. So to wrap up, so you can install shinyMobile from GitHub or from Granjon. Then when you develop your application, you have to first select a layout. So we have different layout. We have the single page layout without any tabs at the bottom. So you only have one page. You can also, yeah, that's an option to have panels. Then we also have the tab layout, which I showcased previously, which will be probably the most used layout. We also have, it's called a kind of sidebar layout. So this layout is made for iPads, for instance. So you have a sidebar, you have the main body. It's more optimized, I would say. Later, you will have another layout, which is called the multi-view layout. I will explain. I will make an announcement on Twitter very soon about this new layout. It will be a game changer for shinyMobile. So then you set up the skin, you set up the option of your application. If you wanna hide the navigation bar as soon as you scroll down or you scroll up, if you wanna customize. And then you can develop your application, include widgets, include interactivity on the server side. And to make it full page, because it's compatible with progressive web apps, you have to create a manifest.json. It's a JSON file. You have an example in the package documentation. And this JSON file is basically containing the name of your application, link to icons. So the icon that you will have when you launch the application on your mobile. And also the start URL. So if it's put on shinyapps.io, then you can put this URL in the manifest. You have to include your icons. You can do them in SVG and then export PNGs and copy everything in the www folder of your Shiny app. So it's not different from classic Shiny apps. Just have one file more to include. Then you can deploy it anywhere, Shiny Server, Shiny Server Pro, or Studio Connect, shinyapps.io, and even other deployment solution if you want. Here I put some link if you want to access a demonstration, a guided tutorial of how you can get started with shinyMobile. You can access to RStudio Cloud to this project. It's already set up. And you have an example of an application I will show probably next slide. It's about the 2020 Shiny contest. So this was decided last year at User 2019 with Gabriel. And Gabriel suggested to create a Minesweeper in R. So we started since last summer until we released it actually yesterday. So here is the application, how it looks like. So as I told you at the beginning of my talk, you can have login in shinyMobile. So here it's not login with password, with nothing. Here it's just to get the name of the user because the name is saved to keep track of scores. And here, it's based on cookies. So you just need to log in once and then your name is saved. But at any time you can change your name in the application. So I will go to the application. All right, so I think I will just restart my slides. In the meantime, here you have a link to the Shiny community post. All right. So here is how it looks like. So you see here at the startup, we load scores. We show a toast to say the user that there is scores loading. Here, these are chips. So I can include the name, I can include the level of the application. There is a timer, the number of bombs. Here is a list of scores. So it's an example how you could use scores. So you can order them if you want. You can select them by devices. You also have a search bar option. So let's have a look at Gabriel, for instance. So here I just select Gabriel. All right, so here it's a beginner level, but you can click on options. And if you click on options, you can change game parameters. And it will display game parameters. So it's a model coming from the bottom, as I told you previously. And you can change the theme, you can put it to light if you want, and you can put it back to dark. Right, so let's select the light option. All right, and here you have the chat. So the chat, basically, you can tweet your score if you want. So I suggest I just quickly play here. So I click on the grid, and the goal is to basically not to touch any bombs. So I hope it will work because it's quite unstable with iframes. So now it's quite laggy, but yeah, at some point I should hit a bomb and I will lose the game probably. Yeah, so let's hit the bomb here. Okay, so yeah, with iframe, it's extremely laggy, so I will stop the demonstration here, but you have, I think, the main principle that you can get like native application using shinyMobile. So now I'm moving to my guest, John. So I will put my microphone on mute, and then John, if you wanna say some words about your app.
Well, you don't have to mute yourself. It's fine because you're holding the mouse anyways. But essentially, this is an application I built to track the coronavirus using shinyMobile. So maybe just David, if you can hit the John Hopkins tab so that we can show some.
Yeah, just I will reload the application.
Well, hopefully it's not too slow. Yeah, that's a toast there as an example.
Yeah.
There was the way the loading screen, and then yeah, so if you scroll down just a tad, just to show a few features, you stop right there. If you hover over the chart there, the tooltips are linked, which is something I quite like with the library charts4R, which I use for all of the visualizations there. I don't know what else I could show you. If you just scroll down a little bit, we'll just show that it's fine. To the map of China. And then here you can hit play. There's another thing you have on eCharts4R where it allows you to create timelines. And it's relatively easy. That's not GIF, that's an actual interactive visualization. Yeah, I think that's about it. So there's no need to show too much more, but that's all using your great shinyMobile package.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, that's basically an amazing application to showcase shinyMobile capabilities. So I was really glad when John came with this application. It's also part of the Shiny contest for 2020. So if you are interested. It's my last slide. So first of all, I thank you for your attention. So you can follow me on Twitter if you want to have more information about what I'm doing, my crazy experiments, report issues in my packages because there are, of course, issues. If you want to know more about our interface, because shinyMobile is just a little part of our interface. So here is the website of our interface. And you see that actually our interface is composed of John, Victor, and Fanny from DreamR, myself and Isabel. And yeah, we developed some packages like Shiny Dashboard Plus, PS4 Dash, Argon, Tableau Dash, and in UI Kit you have shinyMobile, also have Bulma, and also effects. And something very interesting is a mobile chart, which was initiated by John. So this is basically a chart library which is optimized for mobile. So stay connected, because it will be updated very soon. And I say big thanks again for your attention.
Thanks a lot, David. I think it's really expanding the toolbox that our users have, who usually are not web developer per se. So it's really fantastic to have that available. There are lots of interesting questions, but I've saved them for the breakout room, if that's all right, so that we stick to the schedule. And you will be able to join David, but also John. Actually, we decided to put them in the same breakout room because it's probably the same crowd having questions about Shiny.